The 2024 season has sadly become for the Giants all about looking ahead. And so even though they lost last night, Hayden Birdsong and his 5 really brilliant shutout innings provide a glimpse of hope for the future.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015. I've been hosting this show for 5.5 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. And coming up on today's show, as I said, Giants are all but eliminated here. 15 games remaining on the season. They're 8.5 games back in the standings. They're 72 and 75. I think at this point, the more realistic goal would be to try to get to 500 or better. You're obviously not making up 8.5 games, leapfrogging 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that was just almost an impossibility for the Giants to. Yeah, we all know they're not going anywhere. So, games like this are frustrating. They scored 13 runs the night before, and then they get shut out by a guy who, even with 6 shutout innings, lowered his ERA to 4.5. And the Giants got shut down by this guy, Frankie Montas, who's been good at times in his career for sure. But still, he hasn't been good this year, and yet he was great against the Giants. You could say the same thing with Hayden Birdsong, and the Brewers could say this guy, even with 5 shutout innings, lowered his ERA to 4.74. So that's kind of fair. But the thing is, Hayden Birdsong is a young player with pretty electric stuff, I would say. And yeah, so the 23-year-old just turned 23 in August 30th, 2001 is his birthday, with 5 shutout innings against a really good offensive team. And significantly for him, it's just like a total key. He only walked 1 in the outing, struck out 4, allowed just 2 hits, no runs, as I said. So one of his better outings of the season against a team that's going to cruise to a division title. And so one thing that I noticed and that stands out is that Birdsong's strikeout rate on the season is 27.2%, which when we look at what is the league average, especially for starting pitchers? For starting pitchers, the league average strikeout rate is, hold please, it is 21.9%. And Birdsong at 27.2. So when you're a 22/23-year-old kid striking out way more than the league average rate of batters in Major League Baseball, it catches your eye. Now, the other thing to point out is the league average walk rate for starting pitchers is 7.6%, and Birdsong is at 14.4%. So he's roughly double the league average in walk rate. And so that's really the thing that is holding him back. He's also had some issues with allowing home runs, but home run rate is really, really slow to stabilize. And so 57 innings, Birdsong has not appeared out of the bullpen. I think that's a relevant point to point out. Not an irrelevant point, but a relevant point. They're not doing, I was just looking at Sean Manaea, and he's having a nice season with the Mets, and how they just didn't let him start, even though they were like down to 2 starters for like 3 months last year. Why didn't they let Sean Manaea start? Well, with a guy like Birdsong, 22 years old, they're letting him start. They're letting him go out there and pitch. And I like that. And I think it's a nice change of pace from what we had seen in the last several years when guys were babied along, even veteran players. And so anyway, Birdsong has allowed 10 homers in 57 innings. But again, that kind of rate takes a long time to stabilize. So strikeout rate and walk rate are much faster to stabilize. And I don't know, it's not like he had a major crazy strikeout game yesterday. His strikeout rate on the season went down. I mean, he struck out 4 in 5 innings. So that wasn't a huge strikeout total, but just the strikeout stuff is there. And so if he can learn to just basically throw more strikes, then he's going to be in a good position. And after his last outing, this courtesy of Maria Guardado of sfgiants.com, Birdsong said, "I just want to eat innings and stop killing the bullpen." And he's been killing the bullpen in the sense that they've had to pull him because he's been wild and had really long innings, high pitch counts, and he hasn't been able to go deep into games because of it. So following this outing, Birdsong said, quote, "It was nice to actually just be in the zone from first pitch to last pitch. Obviously, I had a walk, but it didn't bother me at that point because I was in the zone for the whole game. That's all I really wanted to do. I want to keep doing that and keep showing that I can pitch through 5 and beyond. Today, I was really happy with what I did. Hopefully, we keep that going." And then Guardado points out Birdsong landed, this is like a direct quote from her article, Birdsong landed first pitch strikes against 11 of the 17 batters, 65%. That he faced, a significant improvement from the 46.7% he'd posted over his previous 6 outings. Sustaining that high clip will be key for Birdsong moving forward as opposing batters entered Thursday with a 642 OPS when they've fallen behind 0-1 against him compared to 910 when they've gotten ahead 1-0. I'm not sure how different that is from the league average. Like, that's just how important the count is. That's why I'm always stressing, if you haven't heard me say this, the count is just enormously impactful. Whether it's 0-1 or 1-0, it just makes a huge difference. And I'm not sure these numbers are that far off from what's normal. A 642 OPS versus 910. I mean, that's a huge difference. But that's why getting, throwing strikes and also having a pitch framer like Patrick Bailey, who gets strikes at a higher rate than anybody on borderline pitches, is so impactful. So Bob Melvin said of the outing, that was great. He really needed that. You could see from pitch 1, he was dotting his fastball away, down in the zone, good downhill plane, good velo. As he went along, he gained even more confidence. That was a huge outing for him to give us 5 like that. And so, yeah, like I said, the Giants didn't win the game, but we're at the point where we'll take these kind of positives, especially from players who are young and factor into 2025 and beyond for the Giants. So we talked about Landon Roop having a really nice outing the other day, and now Hayden Birdsong, a very encouraging outing against a team, like I said, that's going to cruise to a division title and play in October. So anyway, coming up in just a minute, speaking of pitching, is Logan Webb publicly pushing for the Giants to extend Blake Snell? We'll explain what's going on there in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by Tonal. Even the most dedicated gym goers struggle with consistency, the commute, waiting for weights, other people's sweat. It makes skipping a workout very tempting. With Tonal, you can choose from thousands of workouts and train in a way you actually enjoy at home. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. At Tonal.com, use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. All right, here we go. We're going to get into Logan Webb making a public push for the Giants to extend Blake Snell. You don't often see stuff like this, but this is kind of leaked out here, and I'll explain what's going on. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, on Monday, we will be breaking down relevant tidbits from the Giants' 3-game series against the Padres here. Now, the Padres, for what it's worth, I mean, they only have a 2.5 game lead over a playoff spot. I don't know their tiebreaker scenario with the Braves, but basically there's 4 teams competing for 3 spots right now. The Padres are not guaranteed of a spot. So the Giants, if they can win 2 out of 3, sweep this series, they could really have an impact on Padres playoff odds. So these games are huge for San Diego, and we'll be breaking that down, as well as things like what we talked about today with Birdsong, young players, future players, and their impact now and how it affects the future. So for your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And a reminder that you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Giants. So, this courtesy of an interview with on Chris Rose's podcast on YouTube. And MLB Trade Rumors' Steve Adams did a write-up of this. It's called Giants Notes, Snell, Yastrzemski, Conforto. And in this, it's funny, like all of us were talking about Yaz yesterday, which was interesting. All of the people covering the Giants, just because he's done so well recently, it's become a topic. So that's what's hinted at. I mean, that's what's discussed in this article. But also in the article, the lead story is about Blake Snell, and it says, the Giants already extended one potential free agent, but when they inked third baseman Matt Chapman to a 6-year, $151 million contract that overrode the remaining 2 years, $34 million on his previous pact, negated the opt-out. Now, the recruiting pitch for another likely opt-out candidate is on. Giants righty Logan Webb appeared on Chris Rose's podcast this week and suggested he is doing everything he can to convince Blake Snell to re-sign on a longer-term deal and plant roots in the Bay Area. So then MLB Trade Rumors links to the YouTube video and points out that the Snell talk begins at the 18-minute, 15-second mark. And they say, asked by Rose, formerly of MLB Network and Fox Sports. I don't know if he's still doing Fox Sports, but Chris Rose, big name. He did Intentional Talk with Kevin Millar for a number of years, no longer does it, but has a popular YouTube channel. Anyway, asked by Rose how he can help make sure Snell is back with the Giants in 2025, Webb replied, quote, "I'm going to do everything I can. I don't know how that's all going to work out. I kind of hope they, being the Giants, do what they did with Chappie. Start conversations now so we're not bidding against other teams. I'm sure there's teams in our division that are going to try hard to get him. Teams need good starting pitching, and he's been the best in baseball since the beginning of July. It's been awesome to watch, and he's one of my favorite teammates. Hopefully we do everything we can to get him back. he didn't have a spring training, right? He was kind of scuffling. I think he was doubting himself a bit. And then all of a sudden, look what happens when he gains some confidence. He's back to Blake Snell. He's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. Not many guys are 2-time Cy Young Award winners. And you can see it when he throws. He's throwing pellets. It's unbelievable as a lefty. I don't know how anybody hits this. We've got to do everything we can to get him back. I do think he should be a big part of our future going forward, end quote. And so you don't often see that. And so for a player to kind of step out like this, I think it probably has something to do with the fact that, it reminds me of the Kevin Gausman situation. Webb was a young player at the time. I don't think that was his breakout season, 2021, Gausman's last year here. So, going on a national podcast or video or whatever and saying something like this kind of would have been stepping out of line a little bit. But Logan Webb at this point has established himself. He's got his big contract. He's a leader, a voice, the leader, the voice of the Giants. And so, there's some interesting stuff in here, but just for him to say this, he obviously knows it's not private, right? You're out there putting yourself out there saying stuff like this. It's putting the front office on notice. Like, we're not trying to lose this guy. We want this guy back, and I like that. I want Logan Webb to be saying this because it puts pressure on the organization to do something. Because I don't know. I mean, whether it's Snell or Corbin Burnes, I do see the Giants in the market for high-end starting pitching. I'm not sure. I'll have to scour through again that there is that short-term deal for a guy who can contribute like a frontline pitcher. But Corbin Burnes has local ties, went to St. Mary's for college, and Blake Snell has local ties in the sense that he currently plays for you. And so, both of those guys make sense for the Giants. And then, so MLB Trade Rumors continues, and they say, quote, Webb noted to Rose that he doesn't plan to campaign to the front office in an unprompted manner, though public-facing comments of this nature are in a way indirectly doing so, but would offer his opinions and any feedback if asked. It's clear that Webb, a perennial Cy Young candidate himself, values Snell's on-field contributions as well as the left-hander's presence in the clubhouse. So anyway, they get into the contract status and basically that, Snell's opt-out decision is an easy call. The alternative is a $30 million player option for 2025. And it's not clear whether the front office has engaged with agent Scott Boras, who also reps Matt Chapman. Giants have been, this is like the key point here, which is, I don't need them to tell us this, but the Giants have been reluctant to make weighty long-term offers to free agent pitchers under the current front office regime. Webb's 5-year, $90 million extension is the largest contract the Giants have given to a pitcher under President of Baseball Operations Farhan Zaidi in both years and dollars. And notably, Webb was not a free agent. It was an extension. He already had a number of years of team control remaining. I think it was 3. And then essentially they added 3 more on top of that. With the extension, and he was young. That's the thing is Blake Snell, I think, is going to be 32 in December, and Webb was like 26 when he signed this extension. So that's the kicker. So then they go on to say the Giants haven't signed a free agent pitcher for more than 3 years, which was the Anthony DeSclafani deal, which they got rid of for this year. He was still under contract, and they got the Mariners to take it in the Robbie Ray deal. And they say, or for more than a total of $44 million, which was Carlos Rodon's 2-year deal, which actually ended up being a 1-year deal because he opted out. So they say Snell should breeze past both marks. And I would definitely tend to agree. Snell is going to get more than 2 years, and he's going to get more than $44 million. There's just no doubt about that. So will the Giants do this? I don't know. I do think there's major incentive. Like Farhan Zaidi is not, if he's not fired now, he's certainly, as we recently discussed, if you want to look back and listen to an episode from a couple days ago, this week at some point we discussed how we learned via the San Francisco Chronicle that the Giants, Farhan Zaidi and Bob Melvin only have guaranteed contracts for one more year. And then that 2026 status, which was previously believed to be guaranteed for both, is actually a team option, essentially. And so if they don't have a good, if Zaidi is back for 2025, if they have another bad year, I think that's the end for him. If he's back, which is still an if anyway. I think he will be, but then that's it. Like you got to put up, or you just they got to perform in 2025, no doubt. And so, what does he have to lose by, making a splash? It's not his money, right? And so I do think they're going to be in these markets for Snell and Corbin Burnes. And I agree with Webb. Like right now, you're the only team that can talk to Blake Snell. If you wait, then everybody else gets in the mix, and then you never know what's going to happen. So I understand 100% where Webb is coming from, and it's just going to be interesting to see what the contract ultimately is for Blake Snell, given his age. I used Kevin Gausman as an example earlier, and I think it's worth pointing out that Kevin Gausman was really good in years 1 and 2 in Toronto, but this year he's definitely taken a step back. I mean, we're talking strikeout rates near 30% in years 1 and 2 in Toronto, and this year it's down closer to 20%, almost a 10-point drop, like a 33%-ish drop in strikeout rate. The ERA in the first 2 years combined was 3.25, and this year it's 4.09. The expected ERA this year is 4.86 for Gausman. So there are red flags for the 33-year-old Gausman, and so I like that. That's what I'm saying. It's a 5-year deal, and in year 3, it's already looking like he's taken a significant step back, and we'll see how there's still 2 more guaranteed years there for Gausman. And for Snell, he's going to be 32 in December. And so how many years are you willing to give a guy like that? Obviously, the stuff still looks really, really good. But are you going to go like 5 years for a guy starting his age 32 season? I don't know that you do that. Maybe a 4-year deal might be more likely. And are the Giants the team to do it? And just quickly, Corbin Burnes, another option who I think is somewhat realistic, is only 29, and he turns 30 in October. And so you are talking about a guy who's significantly younger, but will probably command more years. So, but then there's more prime years. So anyway, something to watch, and just noteworthy that Logan Webb is out here making public comments, but also saying he essentially implying and saying that he hasn't actually talked to the front office about this, but this is in essence doing so because you get an article like this. People listen when Logan Webb talks because of his status as a frontline arm in this game and leader of the Giants. Anyway, coming up in just a minute, injury news for a significant player who's had a significant breakout. Could be the end of his season. We'll get into what happened and what it means in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, myself included. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks, and it's the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California. I am playing today. If you're on YouTube, you can see my picks on my iPhone here. Logan Webb, I'm taking more than 2.5 strikeouts. Seems like a slam dunk. Luis Arraez, more than half a total base. Also kind of seems like a slam dunk. And then Grant McCray, more than 1.5 strikeouts against a tough strikeout pitcher. And this is 62.50 to pay 200. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code all lowercase locked on MLB to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code all lowercase locked on MLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all of Sunday, September 15th pregame money line bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Thursday, September 12th, so it's live now. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com. Again, that's FanDuel.com. to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, here we go. We're going to get into an injury. This is not, a good thing here. We've talked about Birdsong. We talked about hope for maybe re-signing Blake Snell or extending Blake Snell, or at the very least, being in that kind of market, which I think they will be. But on the flip side of things, we've got an injury that, who knows, could be season-ending for Tyler Fitzgerald. Thanks again for making Locked on Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers on Monday will have a full slate of weekend games against the Padres. These are big games for them. And, of course, we'll be watching closely every Giants player who factors into the future. Logan Webb on the mound tonight. Mason Black going to get a start on Saturday, and then Landon Roop. And so, all three guys factoring into the future. And then the lineup, I think with Tyler Fitzgerald getting hurt and likely missing some time here, you will see more of Marco Luciano, who still isn't really playing, despite the fact that they keep saying that he will. But he's also I get it. He's not doing well, and he's really struggled defensively, enormously. So anyway, and at the plate, he's hit 239, 282 on base, 343 slugging, and the defensive numbers match the eye test. We're talking, he's accumulated -4 defensive runs saved at shortstop this season in 60 innings, -1 in 52 innings at second base, -2 outs above average at second base this year, -3 outs above average at shortstop this year. Just not really being in the right place. But at the same time, Luciano, who just turned 23 on September 10th, 3 days ago, it's not a bad thing to just let the guy play when you're basically eliminated. They're not eliminated yet, but it's going to happen. And so anyway, the injury to Fitzgerald, though, is that he, according to Shayna Rubin of the San Francisco Chronicle, Tyler Fitzgerald said his lower back started locking up on him pregame and got worse as the game wore on. He'll get imaging tomorrow, so that would be today, but isn't super concerned, says he feels something like this every year. So as someone personally who has their back lock up on them, it can be a non-injury. It can just be muscle tightness, spasms, or whatever you want to call it. So hopefully Fitzgerald is fine, but at the same time, with the Giants out of contention, it's not the end of the world if they just need to shut him down. And if they did, he's still done enough to essentially secure a starting role, in my opinion, on next year's team. Now, would it be wise to have solid depth behind him? Yeah. But at the same time, Fitzgerald has hit 296, 350 on base, 530 slugging in 84 games, 14 home runs, 17 steals in 21 attempts, and has played a respectable shortstop. He's played all over. I mean, in this season alone, he's played 81 and a third innings in the outfield, 497 and a third innings at short, 38 innings at second, 8 innings at first, and he's pitched at 3 innings. So anyway, he's 26 years old, turns 27 actually in 2 days. It's like everybody's birthday is lumped together here. But under team control through the 2030 season, and that assumes no more of him being optioned. So, his breakout has just been a big part of this season, and they obviously should be careful with him with this back thing. And I don't know, I just think he's done enough. It's worth pointing out the expected numbers are significantly worse than the actual numbers. Sometimes when you're really fast, you can beat the expected numbers because your speed plays a role. And you can run higher batting averages on balls in play because you put the ball in play like a slow ground ball or a ball that's kind of in the hole at short, and you beat it out because you're so fast. And so that leads to a higher batting average on balls in play, and balls that are normally outs are not outs for you. So then your expected numbers can be lower. And he's been a good base runner. He's been like 45% above average offensively. He struck out a lot, like almost 30% of the time, but I think definitely they should be in the middle infield market because I only see Fitzgerald as the established guy who should kind of have an incumbent status for the middle infield going into next year from this team. But there's some intriguing middle infield options on the free agent market in Willy Adames and Ha-Seong Kim. Kim has long been a fit, and Adames would make a lot of sense too. So that's another area where they could upgrade. First base as well. Starting pitcher, bringing back a Snell or signing a Corbin Burnes, something like that. So anyway, hopefully Fitzgerald is fine, but just wanted to pass along that news that he started the game and then exited the game. But it probably means more of Luciano, which probably isn't a bad thing, even if he's kind of a mess on defense. Let him work it out. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out a lot. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.